So greetings ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another one of my real board lectures where we are going to be going over a game between Seigen as white versus the young Sakata Eio who is, I think, a one-dan professional more or less. He's labeled as a one-dan provisional, I guess? That's what that means. He's very, very young at the time of this game. However, before we go into this game, I do want to say something in regards to a Facebook post, or a Facebook message that I received. And that is, I'm very bad, in case you're not aware, I'm very bad at checking my Facebook messages, and sometimes even my YouTube messages. I need to get better about that, I really do. But I did check them the other day. I saw a message that I just had to respond to. I'm just going to refer to as E. Since you specifically mentioned the real board games, I do want to take a moment to say thank you for your kind message. I do appreciate it. I would never recommend my videos as any kind of cure for what you are obviously going through, but thank you again for your kind message. That said, we are going over Seigen, like I mentioned, versus Sakata Eio, and this is an interesting game. I wanted to go over this game because it's kind of rare that you see. Well, for one, it's kind of rare that you actually see me wanting to review a handicap game for starters. But it's also rare that you see like two professional players, both of which are on the list of greatest players of all time, playing against each other in a handicap game, right? So that's pretty rare in and of itself, right? Two can be interesting for teaching purposes. White takes 4-4. Open corner. Takes for himself. Sure. White splits high. Gives a little bit of an unusual position for black to have to deal with. If we go low, for example, you know that we're going to push. We could like approach and push. You know, we can do a 3-space. You know, we can pincer that. You know, white can jump, and then we get into like this really set Chiseki. They probably wouldn't have played it. They probably wouldn't have played it exactly like this back in the day. Nowadays, we would expect it to go something like this. High changes the dynamic a little bit. It forces white to stay or forces black to stay on his toes. Like if he approaches from here, for example. Well, what really happens in here? We don't have quite the same position when we jump out, right? Because if there's a connection under, sure. There's also over. Okay, but there's more choices. The more choices you give your opponent in a handicap game, since you're giving him handicap, I would assume, the greater likelihood it is of him making, or her, I guess, of making a mistake. As it is, we do not approach. Black takes largest point on board, which, granted, is a Sanrin site. It's got a framework for himself. Another interesting move. It encourages black to play something like this, but then if white gets something like this later on, this is a pretty large area, taking a little bit over half, so this isn't going to be equal to this. This stands to gain more from this. So I have to be careful here. Oops. As it stands, black is again just taking the large points. Very straightforward play. He's just taking all of the large points for himself. White approaches. Time to make a big decision. First real big decision that we have to make in our world. Playing here wasn't really a big decision. This is just recognizing we can tie all of our stones together, so we're going to go ahead and do that, right? We're connecting everything up. Not really a big decision. White extends. We blocked. Not really a big decision there. But here we have a big decision to make. Are we going to provoke a fight? Are we going to back off? High or low? Those have very different responses. If we go high, for example, we might see something like this later on, because we can go in 3 different directions. We can go out, we can go under, and we can go under. So this stone's probably going to be completely fine later on, right? If we go low, then we are only going to be going either out or under, and one of those can get blocked, so our direction can kind of be forced. If we attack, we have no idea where that's going. We have no idea where that's going. Maybe white goes into the corner, maybe white comes out, maybe white attaches. Hard to say, right? Young Sakata decides to do a diagonal instead. It doesn't put a lot of pressure on the one stone. It has potential for later, though. We can maybe grow this area. It's hard to say. Now, one key element of handicap games is that we can't really just play like we might consider playing, let's say, I don't know, in an even game where we're just going to go ahead and settle and then move elsewhere, and then settle and then move elsewhere, and then settle and then move elsewhere. Because if we do that, theoretically, if we're settling and then we move elsewhere, and then they're settling and we're settling and then we move elsewhere, then your opponent's going to maintain that handicap, right? Because if you go even position, even position, even position with 2 stones on the field, then you're still behind because there are the 2 stones on the field, right? So we don't respond here again. Instead, we're going to play faster, like so. Now we've encouraged a lot here. We're encouraging our opponent to come in again so we can kind of maybe get a fight out of him. Black puts pressure, capping the low stone, to try to build the framework. He is attacking this stone here in order to profit. White says, no. So now we finally gotten a bite out of our opponent. We decided to attack, and we can attack him back because that is a small knight. We can try to cut the small knight, right? Small knights can be cut. Oops. So we play here. White comes out. Black leans. I'll admit this shape isn't the best. I mean, you can clearly see he's trying to remain nice and strong. He hasn't given his opponent shape yet. He's maybe leaning against it, so maybe he can go back and attack his opponent. White threatens to cut through. Black surrounds, so he probably can't. White has to respond to not be dead. Black has to respond because this would be almost game over. Corner into connection into attack, that would be big. So we extend. And then, bam, had to live. Now we are picking up some points, which is good. Getting in those Sente moves, which is better. Like so. And again. Now the question here is, can we play this move? This is important. This is important, people. The only way we can play this is if we've read out this. So here's the question. Can we play this move out? Ah, yeah, see, Merc Captain even asked the question. Can't white cut out now? Exactly. That's the question. Can we cut this? If we cut like so, does this work? And the answer is no. The answer to that is no. Because if we cut through here, right, then you can envision a black stone there. So this stone's going to die. White gets the corner back. Or black gets the corner back, sorry. In Sente too, right? Because we're going to Atari, take, descend. Black is now alive, but that's a problem. They have to respond there. So black takes corner back in Sente to then go back and play whatever. So no, we cannot do that. We cannot do that. So once we can read that out, then we know that this is okay. Otherwise, you're tempted to do something silly here, in which case, oh man, that's a good result for white. Ooh, that's a good result for white. Because now white's going to go on the prowl and start poking you. Ooh, that's going to hurt. That's going to hurt so bad. But once we can, once we can realize that that doesn't work, then we can drop down. Alrighty then. That said, white still goes on the attack, and black keeps things separated. Nice and professionally. Again, he can do this because this isn't a threat, right? This is just going to reverse, and we have a way to extend. So the cut here is very, very weak for now. The cut here, for now, is very, very weak. So white leans on black to get stronger. Black responds, because our stone's being touched. Powerful clamp, trying to surround. Now this is also a thing that we do a lot in handicap games for white. We try to get that influence so we can start dancing. You know, we don't want to have to like creep around very, very carefully on the field on this board. We want to dance. We want to go and like play elsewhere. We want to move our feet. So if we get like a bunch of influence here in the middle, let's say we get a bunch of influence here in the middle, then we can start dancing on over here because we got somewhere to run to. Maybe we can dance on over here because this is now under attack. We can just dance all over the board as long as we got that influence. That's a really great way of just like really countering the handicap stones. That's my phone. You probably heard it. Black is calling white on his overplays, or these white moves aren't overplay. Right now I'd say it's just a fight. These three moves, the opening was not an overplay. Going into the corner, I would say, is a calculated risk. Poke, poke, poke. Asking a lovely question. Connected. Bit of an odd move to play here. Definitely shows that you can't cut through here, because now we can see that that would get killed if we try to do the cuttings. Maybe young Sakata wasn't entirely certain. goes through. White extends. Now putting pressure on these two black stones. White bends, or black bends, sorry, get out. Being surrounded, but we're just going to suck it up for now. Because we're just escaping. That's all we're doing. However, one thing that I do like about this is black takes a moment to get in that that shape point move here, right? Rather than just try and defend, and then maybe give his opponent a bunch of forcing moves. He's getting in that that shape point, which is really, really nice. He's not being passive. So he says, "White, I poke you. I poke you, Mr. Seigen." And White says, "Okay, I'm going to surround you. Now what?" And again, Black's response is to attack, because he's got a lot of options here for his group, right? A lot of options here. He still has options underneath there. He's not weak right now. He's not weak right now. So rather than saying, "Oh, I'm scared, I'm gonna cry and defend myself right now," he's identified that he's not doing bad, so it's time to rise up. Time to turn. Whoa. That is not how we play Go. Time to turn. White is just forcing Black to give him forcing moves. Strengthening himself. These, we don't really know what's going on here. Don't really know what's going on with these 3 stones right now. They could turn into something. Right? Could turn into a few points. We could envision something like this maybe later on. Here, move into jump, move into a connection. Maybe later on. Right? Right. Could be something here. Could be something here for White. We can see a way to develop. White plays Hane because we're going to war. Black comes out because we always divide if we are going to conquer. First rule of war, boys, divide and conquer. Alright, we got the Atari going on here. White says, "Nope, I don't care about that stone." So Black takes it. Here, right? That'll confuse people. Actually, no, don't put that there. They'll probably think Sakata is white. I'll put it up there. There we go. Alright. So White Atari. Black's just here connecting. Don't mind him. We don't go to Ko. Instead, we're just going to Atari, double Atari, I should say. I think we connect that. Yes, we do. We connect it because of a bunch of cutting points. So Sakata defends. Seigen plays the Atari. Again, we defend. And as we're being forced low like this, you can see that White is developing in the center. White is developing in the center. But it was in exchange for some solid points. Maybe solid points all the way across. We don't really know what's here just yet. But it looks like it could be a problem. However, it's black's turn now. So what does black need to do? What does black need to do here? Anyone have any idea what black needs to do? I gave you a hint. I gave you a big, big hint on what black needs to do. If we remember the potential that our opponent has, like what does white want to do right now? I imagine that white wants to get in like that kind of variation again to develop the center, use these stones that were sacrificed, right? So black says, no. Couldn't black cut out and take 1,000 points? Cut out? No, the cut isn't going to be 1,000 points. The cut might not even be Sente. TBH. Like maybe we Atari the cut. And then we use Sente to maybe go back and invade. Now the question was that stone worth white getting the strength here again and Sente to launch an attack? Oh, I'm sorry, no, you say P12. P12, what the bloody bonkers is P12? If I was P... Oh, cut through there! Naruhodo. If we go here, you're saying? That is also Gote, though, isn't it? Yeah, kind of, sort of goats. That move right there is just rattling my goats. Because what that's saying is that, once again, go and play wherever you want, white. So rather than play something Gote, you're going to play something a bit more proactive. Because defensive moves here, keep in mind, are also Gote for white. That is a very interesting theory. I can't read your name this far, sorry. The dark blue name that's appearing on my screen is completely meshing with the black. I'm sorry, I can't read your name. But you're saying if pros didn't get late step using handicap, they'd be much stronger, and so like AlphaGo wouldn't be able to beat them 64-1. I think they have to do with a handicap, really. And more of the speed of which the thing makes calculations. White decides to push and cut, because he does have the ability to profit here, especially if he plays twice. 3 times. There we go. So we go and cut here. You can see the profit. Black descends. We can descend because we got the connection here. Keep in mind, things are not as dire as they seem. White Hane threatening to kill stones. So black respond, because he says he's not going to die. This move is pretty standard because it allows us to play instant life later on if we play this one. Atari. Connect. White's confident that he can live. And I just showed you all why. Black connects to this group, which is nice. And white lives. Easy life in the corner. like so. Easy life. Black then goes back, plays a defensive move, hurt the middle stones. Otherwise, things like this and this are going to be forcing. So we play here. White tries to make light shape in the center of the board. And now here's where an interesting decision by black is made. Because black could just defend himself, right? Like white says, I got light shape here now. That's a problem for black. Because we can keep trying to grow this area now. Well, it's hard to kill these stones because there's so many stones around that can be nice and light. Right? So black makes an interesting decision here. Rather than to defend, he goes on the aggressive side and starts trying to reduce. White responds because he has potential here, right? That is a tough move to play, in my opinion. That, in my opinion, is a bit of a tough move to play. Like, we're making sure that we're not going to get separated. It's pretty defensive. This isn't settled yet. But the more stones we put in here, the weaker these ones become. White says, okay, I'm going to Atari. Does not get the free corner. And then attacks. So we made territory here. Right? This answer is an instance where maybe the two space is actually kind of interesting because of that little guy. It also ensures, black's also ensuring that this is harder to play because we can kind of back off into a cut here, right? That's, I'm sorry, I was a bit ambiguous when I said this is also a defensive move. After I said it was a cut, to defend a cut, that sounded redundant, but it's not. It's also to kind of begin defending the invasion points that it looks like this little guy is trying to do. Right? Get rid of that one too. Ah! So black goes to settle. I can't believe Seigen gave Eio 2 stuff. Well, keep in mind when this was played. Keep in mind when this was played. This was back when he was like a provisional 1-dan, right? He's like, what, 15, 16 at the time? This was like very early on in Sakata's life. Yeah? Which is why I'm going over it. It's really cool to see two like legends playing each other so early on. So white defends. Black cuts, asking what Aji is there. We Atari. We extend. Going toe-to-toe with Seigen. This push, not bad. You can see we can't really Atari and Atari because this doesn't work. Not enough liberties. Oh, I'm sorry. That should be a large knight, not a small knight. My bad. I misplayed. Black then leans because we're trying to get something in here working. That's why we don't Hane. If we Hane, we create forcing moves. Like this, for example, would be a forcing move. And then we could Atari, and then like run it into stone. But alright. No joy. It's like we're gonna go and drop down. I hate Hikaru no Go, by the way, just so you all know. I can't see this position in the corner anymore without thinking of that one stupid episode with the throw-in. Remember that? Every time. I have not watched Hikaru in forever, but for some reason, every bloody time I see this stupid sequence, I'm like, oh yeah, you're gonna throw in there. Ugh. Every time I see this shape, I immediately think of that stupid episode. Turns. Extends back. Yeah, but keep in mind, Hikaru was a long time ago. Stands out. Because not keep up our stone, that'd be crazy. And now we got something going on here, don't we? The stones are dead. Love Hikaru, quit hating? I love Hikaru too. Not on YouTube though. Those YouTube English dub videos of Hikaru, don't go looking for those. Don't watch them. Don't watch them. You'll hate Hikaru. Alright, so we've got shape-ish. We got potential to make, you know, tiger's mouths and extensions and whatnot here. White isn't going to allow himself to play here in Gote. White can take these stones, we'll connect underneath and we'll be okay. So he moves to try to attack aggressively. And black does not back off for the slightest. He's like, alright, have at thee. We're going to cross-cut. That's a really great way of trying to take advantage of, you know, some people who maybe aren't quite up to you. Tari. And extension. Now look how brave that is. This is something you can really only do because of the handicap. On an even board, this would be very, very tough to just embrace, giving away like this territory for the middle. Ooh, that's tough. Ooh, that's tough. Separating this from the group is not alive just yet. So black, Atari, forcing the under exchange. So we Atari here. And of course we take... Sorry, I'm not good with removing stones off the board yet. Maybe I never will be. I don't really know. We throw in because we are trying to kill someone. Forcing table-y shape. Now that right there, right after my own heart. Basic series. It's like, oh, I don't know how good you can get with just the basic series, man. Well, we keep things separated, right? We keep things connected, right? And then if we get into trouble, we make table shapes. If we get into trouble, we make table shapes. So how strong can you get? Easy. You can get Sakata. Alright, so white takes profit. That is profit. Fourth line. It's a lot. Not going to leave the Atari behind. No Aji down here, sir. Taking and connecting under. Going after that center. Going after that center. And all of those light stones. What do you think? Are they going to die? Are they going to die? White says, about those stones of mine that you are rudely trying to kill. White says, yeah. What about those stones that I'm trying to kill? Well, White says, I would like it if you don't kill them. Black says, too bad. You didn't want them to die. Maybe you shouldn't have left them behind. They're mine now. I adopted them. Get lost. White has to connect back, otherwise he's going to get cut. Which allows black to Hane. And now the shape's kind of making sense, right? Can't really do much here. Can't really do much here. Hane. Threaten to kill. So we have to defend. Sorry about my phone. So we get to cut through. Right? So we obtained this in exchange for this side. And it's really cool that Sakata was able to identify what his strengths were in this game. Like, these stones are weak. We've got stones facing this way. We defended, so we're going to go ahead and cut them off. And then he went for it. Pokey, pokey, poke, poke, poke. Where your shape? Asks Go Seigen. Where your shape? He asks again. What do you think? Do we live here? Can we? Is it possible? Is it possible to live here? Go Seigen seems to have surrounded us. And he seems to have done that in Sente. And he's now poking at our shape. What do you think? Can we live here? Are we dead? Is this a massive game over from Sakata? It is looking scary, isn't it? Looking scary. So when we are finding ourselves in this position, we want to look for forcing moves. So where be them forcing moves? Where be them forcing moves? Like, we've got this one. Technically, we could play some kind of a shape move there. Oh my god, why is my phone so active tonight? Go away. First, we poke. We poke, 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 poke. That is a forcing move. And I like Go Seigen. Go Seigen is just going to be like, I'm profiting. That right hand side, I'm profiting, yo. I don't care what you're doing. I'm profiting. And then he connects. I get the feeling like he doesn't out of order. No, that's right. Then we create cutting points and mess up the stones while we're playing them on the board. I really feel like I need to get larger stones for this series. I really do. I think these are like a 6mm that I have right now, I want to say. Something like that. About that. They're about 6mm, I want to say. They're pretty thin. I think it's some larger ones for the series. One day. Pokes through. Wait. Black just played twice. I'm sorry. Was I stupid? Did I actually just add... Ugh. Did I add a stone that I shouldn't here? I wasn't paying attention. I don't remember. Either way, maybe I did, maybe I didn't. Either way, black, white blocks, and then black comes up. God, I did that, didn't I? I think I did. Ugh. Oh well. So white blocks, like so. Black cuts, like so, because now we have forcing moves. And we've also got a threat to kill. White says, have at thee. And black says, touche. Or on guard, or something like that. So we're being very, very careful here. We're in a fight to the death for the middle stones. And now I ask you again to test your reading. Does white die here? Are these stones dead for black? Are these now captured? Has black profited? Has he slain his opponent in the middle of the board? No, right? White says, cannot kill thee stone, sir. And black says, can I connect? And white says, why, yes, you can. And then we respond. Fairly easy. Now, you might say, but I did, but how does this all work? Like, well, that's still an Atari, right? So we can't really connect because then we push, block, cut, and then we've got an Atari here, connect, and then Atari, and then we can't connect that, right? We're dead. Now we're okay. But now this is too. And then white defends. So these stones at the moment, sadly, are 6 feet under, as they say. So black counterattacks. It says, I want my corner back. And white says, tough. Okay, end of counterattack. So white says, I'm going to push through and kill your corner. And white says, no, you aren't. Like, okay. Then I'm going to clamp and kill your corner. And white says, no, not doing that either. I'm going to Atari, take your stone, then kill your corner? Nope, just gonna connect. I'm fine there too, thank you. So then he goes over and profits. Has to take the profit here. Has to. If we give up Sente here, we'll have white playing forcing moves for quite some time. So we get that. And then white gets that. Oof, big. That's big. Black says, can I have my stone back? White says, get out of here. Going after the end game. Just going after that end game. Atari. into a connection, into an Atari. That's now a Co. Another forcing move, threatening to save stuffs. White says, I'm not allowing you to do that. So Black kindly requests permission to enter the territory. White says, request denied. But that does mean we get these stone, like so. Now that means we have Sente to go back and play some large moves, like that one. Remember, from the beginning of the game, the push here doesn't work because the Hane here, because of that stone. So now it works, so he connects. Playing that end game, that delicious, delicious end game. Okay, gotta connect that on up. Now White pushes, and we're gonna go and block. And then White plays the Atari, and then we sacrifice. Like so. This is also stopping any kind of shenanigans with the Hane. Hane, Tari, Tari. Now we take. And then we take here as well, because that just defended against this, right? There's no more weirdo cutting things happening. Otherwise, like without it, if this was still on the board, and there's like a stone here, we'd Atari, extend back, Atari, extend back. There's already still a stone here, so we would capture there, right? But because we just took this, this doesn't go anywhere. So pretty good take, pretty good take. Now we've got that, but again we've got the forcing moves. Threat to go after the two stones. We don't connect here because that leads to, I want to say this. Am I wrong about that? There's a lot there. There's like the extension here, and then there's also like the clamp here, or at the very least just the bamboo joint there. So instead of playing this, he clamps. It's like, okay, take him and go, Tay. I missed the last move. Okay, right. So we're going to connect that. That's not going to be a ko ever. White takes. It's getting to be a really, really close game. Sorry, I don't have uptime commands on my channel. I are a bad streamer. Pokes. Connects. Extends on out, looking to see if we can get any forcing moves out of our opponents. Nicely defended. Spend extra move. This is really big because that could have been a Hane and get some points for black. Picking up an extra point because we can go and play something like Blam. Actually, it would be Blam into Blam into, I don't know actually. Do 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 do. Guys are fine. But we are going to go here and threaten to cut off stuff. And that pokes into the Atari, which I think we Atari now, right? Yeah, we do. Into taking. Into pushing. Ah! Sorry. That's weird. Oh, okay, that did it. Okay, never mind. Yeah, we take that. Pew, pew, pew. And then, of course, take back immediately. Like so. And then we just keep on reducing and reducing and reducing like so. Are we done? Oh, nope, sorry, my bad. No, we're not. Go there, we go there, and we go there, like so. Now are we done? Nope. We've got this one left. Wait, what? I'm confused. Oh, right. For that, we played here for the Atari, and then we played here. And otherwise, black gets to go twice, and that would be a bad thing. Atari. Take. Gonna go ahead and fight this Ko out. Black says no, or white says no, rather. Getting an extra point on in. Same. And that is the last move of the game record. The final result is black wins by 2 points in this two-stone game versus Go Seigen. So there are a couple of reasons why I wanted to pick this. One, it showed how difficult it is to overcome handicap, because we got a pretty good position here, got some territory there, but kind of gave up a little bit much in exchange for doing that. Even made a kill in the middle of the board, but gave up slightly too much in exchange for doing that. I also like how black was able to identify where his profit was coming from and fight to build off his profit rather than do anything crazy. I like how when white was threatening his stone, he didn't just defend himself and he went on the counterattack, because white was threatening to build up a large area while was threatening to, revive the center. And rather than deal with that garbage, he just went into the approach and fought for a group here in the middle. A lot of really cool things in this game. Also showed an interesting use of sacrificial stones from white. How even though these kind of didn't work, he wanted those forcing moves to surround the right. So he was willing to give up a little bit in exchange. Very cool game. Despite it being a handicap game.